Does that make you homesick? Can't wait. Take your Bibles, John chapter 20. We continue our message from Wednesday night. As we look together, the first 23 verses of John 20, we want to continue this morning as we pick up with verse 24. Just in case you have some doubts sometime in the future, we're going to take a look this morning at how you and I can have faith in the midst of our doubts. Three of the most discouraging words that you'll ever hear as believers are, just have faith. I don't like those words, just have faith. I mean, you're going through a disaster in your financial life or your personal life, and somebody comes up, pats you on the shoulder, and says, just have faith. Just have faith. Or you're going through a disaster in your marriage, or you're having health problems. You're facing something that you've never faced before in your life, a challenge you know that you can't overcome. You go to bed each night worrying, and somebody comes up to you and says, you just need to have faith. That's like going to somebody who's broken an arm, and you bend over to him and say, just don't hurt. Just don't let it hurt you. That doesn't work. And I don't want somebody to tell me just have faith. That's not what people need. That's not what I need. That's not what you need. I need someone who will come to me and say, here's how to have faith. Here's how to have faith when your marriage is struggling. Here's how to have faith when your finances are in a free-for-all. Here's how to have faith when you don't feel like the Lord is near. Here's how to have faith when you feel depressed. A man named Thomas went through this just have faith experience. We're going to look at his story this morning. Wednesday we heard how Jesus appeared to his disciples. You might have noticed on Wednesday evening that everybody was there but Thomas. He wasn't there. Now we don't know why he wasn't there. He could have been depressed. He probably didn't want to be there. He was probably confused. So because he wasn't there, he didn't see what the other disciples saw. So when they came and told Thomas Jesus had appeared, he wouldn't believe them. They said, Thomas, we saw him. Just have faith, Thomas. And we're going to look at what happened when they said that to him and his response. Now, a week later, Jesus shows up. He appears to Thomas, and he said, Thomas, here's how you can have faith. Now, that's what I want to know. So this morning, we're going to take an honest look at that. The word Thomas literally means twin. Thomas has a lot of twins today. A lot of us struggle with doubt. We really battle with doubt. In fact, Thomas had such a powerful experience with doubt that that's what he came to be known for. They called him Doubting Thomas. And I think we need to call him not Doubting Thomas, but Thomas who doubted but came to a great experience of faith where he made the greatest confession of any of the disciples. Thomas worked through those doubts to find faith. And he teaches us one of the most important lessons that any of us can learn as a believer. And it's this. It's okay to have doubts. Don't set them aside. Don't pretend they're not there. In fact, honest doubts can grow into great faith if you handle them in the right way. So we're going to learn from the experience of Thomas how to handle it in the right way. Here's how. You might call this the Thomas Guide to how to have great faith in your life. Chapter 20 begins the story of Thomas and his journey of faith. And the first thing that he teaches us is if we're going to deal with our doubts, we have to first remove the doubt. We've got to remove your doubts. Now, it's important that we realize that doubts are real. We've got to admit they're real. You can't just get rid of something until you admit that it's real. And doubt can be something, like ants invading your house. We've had a real battle recently with ants. You go to sleep at night, no ants. Everything's okay. You get up the next morning, and everything's covered with ants. Now, If you pretend that that was okay, you have a big problem. But if you said, well, we can live with them, they won't be a problem, but you don't do that. As soon as you see them, you react strongly and quickly and say, we've got to get rid of these ants at all costs. And we've got to get them out. We're not willing for them to stay here. The same thing is true with doubts. We don't want to let them stay in our lives. Well, Thomas had to learn how to remove the doubts. And if you and I look at Thomas's story and what he went through, we can see two specific reasons why he struggled with doubts. The same reason that we struggle with doubts. I've found that understanding why doubt is there is the first step to removing the doubt that's there. So let's begin in verse 24, if we might. It says there, now Thomas, one of the 12, was called Didymus. Didymus means twin. He was one of the 12. He was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we've seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. They came to Thomas and said, Thomas, just have faith. And he said, I won't have faith. There were two causes why he wouldn't have faith. Number one, his requirements for belief. See, Thomas had his own standard of requirements for belief. And notice he said, unless I won't believe. Now, unless I put my finger in the nail prints and my hand in the side where the spear went in, unless I can do this, I won't believe. Now, we do the same thing, don't we? We say, well, unless everything happens the way that I think it should in my life, then I don't believe. Unless, God, you do it exactly like I think you should do it, then I'm not going to believe. And then we become bitter and we become plagued with doubts about God. About, God, you didn't do it like I required you to do it. Unless every Christian that I meet is a perfect person, then I won't believe because of hypocrites. Or unless God runs the world the way that I think it should be run, I won't believe. And we put our own requirements on it. Well, Thomas shows us by his requirements for belief that he would fit very well in modern day America. He was a natural pessimist. He expected Jesus to go to the cross. One day when Jesus was going to Jerusalem earlier, Thomas and some of the disciples got together talking about it, and his feeling was, let's just go and die with him. And he had this pessimistic spirit that's seen in his response to this faith. And a lot of Americans have that. A lot of people are pessimistic. They're cynical people. Now, God can change those things, but we're trained to be pessimistic. If we can't see it, if we can't touch it, if we can't prove it, then it can't be real. And we find ourselves falling short of faith. And there's some things that are real that I can't see, some things that are real that I can't touch, but they're just as real. Love is a very real thing, but I can't touch it. God is very real, but I can't touch him. Grace is a very real thing, but I can't see it. Heaven is so very, very real, but we can't see it. Those are very real things, more real than the things that we can see in this world. But we're trained to doubt, to put standards on faith. And Thomas lived with doubt because he had these unrealistic requirements on faith. He said, I have to see it. Anybody like that? Have you ever felt like that before? God, if you'll do this, then I'll believe you. But God, if you don't do it, then I'm not going to believe you. I've got to see it. I've got to touch it. I've got to feel it. I've got to experience it myself. God tells us in Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1 that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the conviction. It's the belief about something that we're hoping for. It's the certainty about something that we do not see. See,